Bonjour à tous et bienvenue sur ce second live sur Vampyr. On a commencé effectivement Vampyr ou Vampyr la semaine dernière. Un jeu réalisé par Dontnod Studio qui ont l'habitude des jeux narratifs. Mais là on n'est pas sur un jeu 100% narratif, on est aussi sur un jeu un petit peu à monde ouvert, style RPG, qui nous narre effectivement l'histoire d'une personne devenue vampire sans qu'elle sache trop comment. Et justement, l'idée, ça va être de comprendre pourquoi et de faire des choix. Parce que si on ne résiste pas à nos pulsions de vampire, nos pulsions, nos envies de sang, on peut eh bien, tout simplement tuer un petit peu tout le monde, mais ça nous compliquera les choses par la suite. Ça nous donnera des pouvoirs, ça nous donnera des capacités qui nous rendront plus puissants. Donc pour les combats à venir, ça nous simplifiera la vie, mais ça pourra nous fermer des portes autrement, peut-être des quartiers, des accès à des PNJ qui seront plus là, puisqu'on les aura décédés. Du coup, on va essayer de la jouer gentil vampire, et on va continuer du coup la partie que l'on avait commencé précédemment, sachant que on était... On venait de terminer l'acte 1, je crois. On venait d'arriver à l'hôpital où on venait d'être engagé. Ah, faut peut-être que je me mette de l'autre côté en fonction des petits messages qu'il y aura. À voir, je me rappelle plus comment j'ai été calé la dernière fois. Les citoyens malades peuvent être soignés avec le traitement approprié. Un citoyen en bonne santé contribue à améliorer la situation sanitaire du quartier auquel il appartient. Donc, on venait de rejoindre l'hôpital où notre ami, dont j'ai absolument oublié le nom, nous a effectivement engagé sans demander l'avis de personne, hein, mais c'est lui le responsable de cette clinique même. Évidemment, on joue que la nuit, hein, puisque nous sommes un vampire. Voilà. Faut peut-être que je me mette en bas à gauche, parce que sinon je suis devant les objectifs. Peut-être se mettre ici. Et alors, ça tombe bien qu'on parle d'hôpital et de clinique, puisque je suis un petit peu malade, donc c'est normal si jamais je montre quelques signes de faiblesse. Voilà, je pense qu'on est bien calé comme ça. Et du coup, je m'excuse par avance, mais je vais certainement éternuer à de nombreuses reprises, parler un peu du nez, avoir les yeux rouges, et potentiellement me moucher aussi moult fois. Mais ça va bien se passer. Ça va bien se passer. Ah oui, il faut qu'on arrose la petite fleur. Ouais, bah moi je veux bien trouver de l'eau. Si on peut. On nous attend. Alors, répondre à la porte. Bon, on va répondre à la porte. On va répondre à la porte. Je vais me moucher. Je suis désolé.
I'm so sorry. I know Dr. Swansea wanted you to rest, but we have somewhat of a crisis.
A crisis, you say?
Our supply of antiseptics is nearly depleted. I was hoping there was another box up here, but...
Du coup, j'ai rien suivi.
What type of hospital are you running? No antiseptics?
You have been away too long, Doctor. With the war and now this epidemic, supplies have been running scarce for months now.
I may have a solution. In France, during the war, drugs shortage was a daily problem, and we had to use our wits to overcome the shortages.
However do you mean?
If combined correctly, certain household chemical products can be used in a pinch instead. Now, where's the hospital storeroom?
The storeroom? Fat chance. This is the Pembroke, and space is luxury we don't have. Everything used to be stored in the old morgue.
Perhaps I should look there first. Where is this morgue?
It's the large building behind the hospital. You'll need to go in the back door because it's been sealed off for sanitary reasons. Take this key. It opens a small back entrance at the end of a narrow street.
The abandoned morgue behind the hospital. A small door at the end of a narrow street. On my way then. Thank you, nurse.
Très bien. Voilà, c'est quand même un peu un entrepôt aussi, hein, donc... J'aurais pu le mettre là, tout
It's
simplement.
locked.
It's locked.
I cannot enter.
Est-ce qu'il y a moyen d'arroser la petite plante?
The flower's dying. It needs water.
Comment on met ça? Moi, je suis prêt à aider tout le monde, même les plantes, hein. Bon, bah on va aller à la morgue. Qu'est-ce qu'on a là? Une scie usée. Un écrit. Des petits items. Et là, qu'est-ce qu'on a? Une porte fermée. Ah oui, c'est vrai que j'ai ça. De vue là. Oui, donc on a vu qu'on peut effectivement mordre un petit peu tout le monde. Ça donnerait de l'XP et tout. Mais ça nous rendrait méchants et nous poserait des problèmes. Et nous, on veut pas des problèmes. On veut des solutions.
It's locked.
C'est locked. Alright.
Scowl voices in the garden. I should investigate. If they were to find somebody.
Je me rappelle plus comment on se bat. Moi j'ai oublié les touches. Oh. Comment on fait déjà pour mordre et tout? C'est ça la morgue? Pas du tout. Maintenant qu'on est là, hein. Donc les scales, c'est des... C'est des vampires qui ont mal tourné. Ah oui, ah oui, oui. Ah merde, oh putain. Oh là là, mais je me rappelais plus des touches pour combattre. Du coup, ça, c'était voué à l'échec. On va faire mieux, on va faire mieux. Vous avez été vaincu. Vous découvrez qu'il est très difficile de tuer un vampire, mon ami. On vous a offert une relative immortalité. Très relative, effectivement. C'est un petit peu long les chargements, on va essayer de ne pas décéder. On perd de l'XP dans ces cas-là? Bon, on réessaye. Ah oui, j'ai plus de jauge. Ah, il a lâché une petite sacoche que je pouvais ramasser. Tac. Et tac. Bon, l'autre ne fait rien. Ça se passe derrière. Les caméras. Pardon. La caméra, oui. Elle est de retour. Photographie dans un portefeuille. Une photographie d'un couple amoureux et souriant avec quelques mots inscrits au dos. Au recto. Milton et Paipa. Pour toujours. Ah oui, on peut faire des petites investigations locales. Hello Fighters, bienvenue. Enquête sur les citoyens, c'est ici que vous pouvez consulter les enquêtes sur les citoyens triés par quartier. Vous pouvez démarrer une nouvelle mission. Ok. On fera ça après, on est d'abord occupé à rejoindre la morgue. Bien sûr. Qui est... tout droit, hein. Il me semble. C'est là. C'est là. C'est bien là. Les munitions en trop seront placées dans votre stock, bien sûr. On espère bien. Ronde de nuit. Trouver des ingrédients médicaux utiles dans la vieille morgue. Trouver du tartrate ferreux. Trouver de la quinine. Trouver de l'hypochlorite de sodium. Rapporter le portefeuille à son propriétaire. Ça c'est l'autre petite mission. Ah oui, mais la morgue est un endroit vaste finalement. On a les traces de sang. Mais là on sort. Mais non, mais on veut pas sortir. Et on se tape un chargement, ça c'est dommage. Quartier perdu. Si la situation sanitaire d'un quartier tombe sous le seuil critique, ce quartier plongera dans le chaos. Les citoyens du quartier disparaîtront, leurs missions seront perdues et de dangereuses créatures commenceront à rôder dans les rues. Oh putain, oui, donc vaut mieux pas que ça arrive ça, sinon c'est la fin. Ouais, donc il faut s'occuper de la situation sanitaire du quartier. On est quand même dans le jeu, on joue à un jeu où le thème colle bien à notre quotidien finalement. Avec une situation sanitaire préoccupante. En plus, pour être RP 100%, je joue malade. Bon bah on y retourne, hein, putain, je voulais pas en sortir. Je pensais que ça ouvrirait la porte pour la suite. On comptait pas sortir de là. Donc on est très RP. Hein. Vous pouvez soigner les dégâts aggravés en utilisant votre compétence d'autophagie, en buvant du sang humain ou bien en vous reposant. C'est vrai qu'on peut manger des rats aussi. C'est délicieux, bien sûr. Alors, pour le moment, l'état du quartier est satisfaisant. Bon, on ne sort plus. Ça ne fait pas sortir. Si ça fait sortir, franchement, non. On prend des shillings. La thune. Parce qu'on aime l'argent, bien sûr.
It's locked, all right.
J'adore. J'adore son accent. Que je serais incapable de refaire. On est d'accord qu'on vient d'ici, hein. Oui. Bon, il faut monter. Tout se passe en haut. Et quelque chose me dit... Ah non, mais il y a plein de... Non, il y a plein de... d'objectifs à différents endroits de la... Là, on est à 7 mètres, 6, 5, 4... On va voir. Pourquoi on le voyait pas avec notre vision? Scale sauvage.
Behavior is similar to the infected William Bishop. Must be the same strain. This sickness moves faster than influenza. It's locked.
Ah là, on a déjà un des ingrédients. Oui, donc ils ont fait fermer les lieux, effectivement. Parce qu'il semblerait qu'il y ait des occupants non désirés. Ah! Il a disparu. Ah non, il est là.
Balls of Mars, fortifiers. As popular as they are ineffective. But
Ah oui, on est un ancien médecin de
de
guerre, un ancien médecin militaire. Ça peut avoir son importance de le retenir. Parce que c'est peut-être une des raisons pour lesquelles il s'est retrouvé vampire. Peut-être qu'il a...
I cannot enter.
peut-être fait des choses. C'est avancé comme s'il allait rentrer. Des balles. On n'est pas armé, hein. On peut continuer à monter. On peut, mais il n'y a rien. Cadavre. Ok. Bon, bah tout se passe dans le sous-sol, je pense. Hein. On a récupéré la clé pour ça. Bah oui, parce que... Oh putain, il m'a fait peur. On a le droit à un vrai vampire, je crois, là, non? Le con. Il m'a surpris. Bon, je pense qu'il est dans le sous-sol, du coup. Oh putain. Et c'est chaud. Mais là, il s'est TP comme si c'était vraiment un...
These skulls feed from corpses and the husks of animals. They're not our...
Il n'y a plus rien, c'est par là. Ah, c'est pas fini. Il va me tuer en fait. Putain, il m'a tué. Il m'a tué. C'est qu'on a vraiment une barre de stamina très lente à se remplir. Il m'a décédé, tout simplement. Si vous n'êtes pas assez puissant, n'oubliez pas que le sang, oui, bah oui. Le sang des citoyens est le moyen le plus rapide d'évoluer, mais c'est la solution de facilité en fait de faire ça. Soit on joue le gentil vampire, soit on joue le méchant vampire. Moi j'ai envie de jouer le gentil vampire. Fidèle à mes convictions, bien sûr. Mais ça nous soigne pas quand on fait ça, par contre, ça nous met que de la stamina. Enfin non, de la jauge de... Ouais, ça. Ça nous soigne. On a déjà ramassé, il n'y a plus besoin de le ramasser, ça c'est plutôt cool. C'est compliqué, la caméra, j'ai l'impression qu'elle est trop proche. C'est-à-dire qu'il y a un corps ici dans une morgue qui est censé être abandonné depuis un petit moment. Rapport de décès. Défunt Samuel Connor, 39 ans. Pêcheur. Pneumonie foudroyante due à une consolidation pulmonaire causée par un virus. Grippe espagnole.
Mr. Connor's injuries don't match the report. I'd better look into this.
On peut pas passer des portes simplement en les laissant ouvertes. Ce serait plus simple, hein.
It's locked.
Bon là on peut continuer et nous on vient de là. Allons tout droit. Ça pue. Voilà. Oh merde. Oh non, il est pas seul en plus. Si, il est seul ou c'est lui qui m'a... Ah si, ça lui fait une sorte de... Il est résistant à ça. Voilà.
These skulls can be so ferocious. I'm not sure I can defeat them without becoming stronger. To drink blood is so tempting.
Mais j'ai même des... Ah mais si, mais en fait je suis pas juste équipé de ce qu'il faut, mais je pourrais tout à fait... Ah mais oui, voilà. Et... fabriquer un traitement pour la fatigue. On a trouvé une clé pour ouvrir le coffre qui était dans la morgue ou pas? On a vu plus tôt. Je vais refaire le tour pour être sûr. Ah oui non, en fait, on pouvait pas faire le tour. J'ai bien tout fouillé. J'ai bien tout fouillé. Oui. Quelque chose me dit qu'il va y avoir du nouveau monde en revenant sur nos pas, non? Bon.
It's locked. Traces of a pinkish foam at the corner of the lips. Some sort of drug overdose, perhaps? The chest was originally opened to perform the operation. The sutures are clean, but the chest has been reopened. Multiple abrasions and scarring on the arms and legs. Old and distinctive injuries of a sailor or a fisherman. A puncture over the left lung, possibly a chest tube insertion. Not the cleanest work, but I think it was successful. Signs of internal bleeding. So, Dr. Tippett's anesthetics were incorrectly dosed, causing the patient's death. And then, he tried to operate on him again. Tippett has made an egregious error. It's time we talked. Tippett has made an egregious error. It's time we talked.
Bien sûr.
It's locked.
Bon, on sera peut-être amené à revenir ici du coup. Des petits shillings. Ah, je me disais bien. Bah oui, bien sûr qu'il y a du nouveau. Je refais les salles. Donc là on peut ressortir par la porte que j'avais prise par inadvertance tout à l'heure. Ce qui devrait être plus rapide. Quantité d'expérience que vous obtenez les citoyens que vous décidez d'étreindre est directement liée à la quantité de leur sang. Et ben on le saura pas parce qu'on le fera pas. Je m'y refuse. Peut-être que le jeu va être super dur après. Peut-être que je me mets des bâtons dans les roues de ouf. C'est possible. Ouais, c'était direct. Moi j'ai fait un petit tour sans le vouloir. Traitement pour la fatigue. Il me manque solution d'hypochlorite de sodium pour faire un traitement pour l'anémie. Donc là c'est ok. Apporter le médicament à Dorothy Crane dans la chambre du patient.
The flower's dying. It needs water.
Ouais mais t'as des petites bouteilles sur toi. T'as un robinet juste là mec. Soigne-la ta plante, soigne-la. Si tu veux que je te le dise. Ah elle est là. Ah mais elle est juste à côté. Ah non c'est en dessous. C'est elle.
Finally, you've returned, Doctor. Did you find anything of value?
Yes, nurse.
You've worked your first miracle, Doctor. Now, this patient here needs immediate treatment.
Duty calls. When the storm has passed, I'll show you how to mix the remedy yourself with the same basic ingredients.
Many thanks, Doctor. When you've finished, you ought to report to Dr. Swansea in his office. He's been looking for you. Seemed pressing.
Les maladies font baisser la qualité du sang des citoyens. Soignez-les avec les bons médicaments. Parlez aux patients dans la pièce située derrière Dorothy pour voir son état de santé.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No,
Really? Why are you here then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't
Il a
need
peut-être
to
été
be-
mordu.
You are not a burden, sir. Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'll let you get some rest, then.
Qu'est-ce qu'elle fout dans la
Good
porte,
evening,
elle?
madam.
I'm all right.
Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes, thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
C'est honteux ce qui s'est passé.
Tell me more about your arrival.
Ah, elle va redire la même chose.
What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
Ok.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
Et lui, est-ce qu'il a d'autres choses à dire?
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
But in the circumstances, I'm willing.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
Good evening, sir.
Putain, ouais, c'est vrai qu'elle... Parler à Edgar et elle aussi. C'est elle qui a pris la thune.
Dr. Reed, may I help you?
Non.
I'll see you later, Nurse Crane. Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. May I help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Aykroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable, and your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies. Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter, and a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Très bien.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
You always knew the words to calm the children, Helen. As for me,
Il faut que j'aille engueuler l'infirmière qui a fait payer pour coffre de sang. Oui, 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 oui. Lui, c'est qui?
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Ok.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
Très bien.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True, true. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time.
Ok, bah on a fait tout ce qu'on pouvait. Non, question personnelle.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him, or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior. A man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Très bien.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
Dr. Reed, may I help you?
I'll see you later, Nurse Crane.
Oui, moi.
Good evening, Mr. Fiddick.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Any news about my operation?
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
Ok.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army. Building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
I'm sorry for your loss. So many died during the bombings. I served in France and witnessed the carnage there.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that me kids have. Poor little bleeders.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
Sweet girl. Reads me like a book.
On en apprend un peu plus. Et on a là.
I'm quite busy right now, Dr. Reed.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
Mm-hmm.
Other people may say that's too conservative a point of view.
Conservative? And what are you going to say to Mr. Fiddick if he loses his arm because of the operation? Because that's what's going to happen if the surgery is a failure.
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. But I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
Mhm. Qui a raison? Qui a tort?
I have wasted too much energy for so little result.
Good evening, sir.
C'est lui.
So it's true. The famous Dr. Reed has joined us. I can't think of any better news during these terrible times.
Do we know each other?
Actually, yes. We met once before, at the Rockefeller University in New York.
Dr. Tippett, yes, I remember. I was assisting Professor Carell in his research about coronary bypasses. He had nothing but praise for you.
He was also very confident about your future. And look at you now. Eminent surgeon and blood transfusion specialist.
Ah voilà, erreur médicale, c'est lui.
What is the Pembroke Hospital situation? And please, speak freely.
This hospital is not exactly the best of London. I'm sure you are used to working in a better environment.
It's not exactly the best situation in London either. I can't have expected this hospital to be prepared for what was to come.
Don't be misled by appearances, Dr. Reed. This hospital does not lack talented people. It just lacks hope.
What can you tell me about the staff in the hospital?
Some are really good, and others are not so good. But during this troubled period, there is no time for slander. I prefer to focus on the positive character traits.
Tell me more about cherished people, then.
Nurse Brannigan is a pearl. She is the most helpful and dedicated nurse I've ever worked with. A clever and cheerful woman.
You really seem to admire her skills.
I'll go even further. If she was a man, she would be a damn fine practitioner.
Any opinion about the management?
I don't always agree with Dr. Swansea's reserve, but I must admit he does all he can to keep this facility running during this crisis.
Ah yes, the burden of command. I was fed up with this concept while serving as a medical officer.
Don't get me wrong. Swansea's a good administrator. I just wish he would get out of his office now and again.
Corcoran, I want you to tell me about Mr. Connor. How did he die? What happened?
He was my patient. He died because of my mistake. That's the blunt truth.
What was the nature of the mistake?
It was a twofold error. My diagnosis was wrong, and the administered dosage was too strong.
Who was this patient?
I don't know. Some sick man from the docks, maybe a fisherman. I had no time to talk with him. No one claimed a body.
Why not stop practicing?
Are you mad? I killed that man, I admit it, and it won't happen again. I have saved so many lives since then.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippett. Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm new here.
I've already heard about you, Dr. Reed. I'm Milton Hooks, the ambulance driver for this shithole of a hospital.
That's quite a blunt introduction, Mr. Hooks.
You can call me Milton. I like to speak my mind, Dr. Reed. Perk of the job. Don't judge me, and I won't judge you.
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
Well, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure a gun can't be used as a surgical instrument.
You have a keen eye. I learned to shoot during the war, and have carried one ever since. Old habits die hard.
No need to explain, Dr. Reed. And if you ever need a better gun, remember, I may have something for you.
I have some good news, Milton.
What? The epidemic's over?
I retrieved your wallet, with all the money, and a certain picture.
Well, yeah, Pippa Hawkins is my girl. So what? Is it the difference of skin color that bothers you?
Not at all, Milton.
Good. Please, take this money anyway. To remind you to keep your mouth shut. Not everybody is as broad-minded as you, Dr. Reed.
How is the situation around here?
You want to hear the situation is all right? It's fucking awful. We lack everything, and it's getting worse every day.
So what do you do exactly in this hospital? Apart from smuggling guns, I mean.
I've been an ambulance driver since... too long, I guess. I bring sick people here night and day. It's a dirty job, but I get it done. Most of the time.
It sounds like things have been a bit rough recently. What's happened?
Yesterday I got attacked by the patient I was bringing here. I escaped through the hospital's garden, but I lost my wallet when I was running.
You left an infected patient outside the hospital? That's incredibly dangerous.
Go there yourself if you want, but be careful, Doctor. I'd rather not bring your dead body back.
Since you're on the front line, how is the sanitary situation in this vicinity?
It's a complete disaster. It's even getting dangerous to enter some streets or buildings. Even the locals attack you.
Are you really smuggling weapons through the hospital?
And why not? I've already been attacked by patients, you know. And by gang members willing to steal my money.
But you're not defending yourself. You're selling guns to civilians.
You keep people alive your own way, Doctor. I offer them another way to protect their health.
What's going on between you and Nurse Hawkins?
Pippa's tired. Tired of all this shit. Tired of all those corpses piling up. She's as depressed as I am.
During the war, I witnessed a few couples just like you come together in difficult circumstances. It can be very damaging.
Maybe you're right. But we support each other. And that's all that matters.
You do realize you could both get fired. Hospital staff are not meant to have intimate relationships with one another.
Come on, Dr. Reed. Do you know how many rules are broken in this hospital every day just to keep it running? There's nothing wrong with what we're doing.
On a tout vu. Et faisons affaire.
I'd like to see your goods.
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable gun is what everybody needs these days.
Ça. Oh, il est trop cher. Il m'a donné quand même de la thune, mais il est beaucoup trop cher. Du coup, oui, à la base, je devais voir... Ah oui, mais c'est au-dessus.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
C'est elle qui a demandé de la thune.
How would you describe the situation at the Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
You must get a hold of yourself, nurse.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. No one has any idea when this epidemic will be over.
Pepper, I know you're very close to Milton Hooks.
Yes? Milton Hooks is my man. If you want to report me for that, just feel free, Doctor.
I have no intention of reporting you, Nurse Hawkins, but are you aware of the risks?
The rules say I won't be allowed to work as a nurse anymore. But here at the Pembroke, we break rules all the time.
Is he worth the risk?
Hey, I'm no perfect woman, and Milton is not the finest bloke. But we do our best to get by. That's all any of us can hope for nowadays.
Ok, très bien. C'est pas elle du coup.
Good evening, sir. Can I help you?
Unless you're here to fix my face. No. I don't think you can help me.
I'm Dr. Reed. I've recently taken the position of head surgeon here. War injuries, am I right?
You guessed right, Doctor. German shell took my pretty little mug right off. But they still call me Thomas Elwood.
Where were you stationed, sir? Did you serve for long?
I really don't want to talk about all this shit.
No offense. I was pushing too much. I served in France myself. I just wanted to know what happened to you.
You were an officer, weren't you? Then I doubt we fought the same war, sir. No offense.
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pain, sir. The drugs don't work. It just hurts under the scars, if you get my drift.
Who is treating you? Is someone in particular looking after your case?
Nobody since the old and tired doctor spoke to me. Started to think I was forgotten about. Wouldn't blame you.
You don't seem worried by that.
My face hurts so much more when I smile or cry. I've learned it's easier not to speak. But be assured I'm smiling inside.
Can I do anything for your pain?
Nurses gave me a bunch of pills. No effect. Told you. It's like the flames are under my skin, burning away.
Goodbye
Okay.
for now, Mr. Elwood.
Disgust on every street corner.
Putain, il y a vraiment du monde là.
Good evening, Mr. Hampton. How do you feel?
Dr. Reed, is it? Oh, sorry, I must
Ah oui, c'est lui.
apologize for my behavior.
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion make me say awful things to you, I'm afraid.
You remained perfectly nice and polite. A little delirious, perhaps. But who wouldn't be after enduring an abduction?
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do is rest and return to my flock.
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent behavior. I went to his place and he refused to let me go.
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly changed to blood. I don't know why. Just like a patient I met here. This Miss Hawcroft.
You dared to enter this awful place alone. You're a hero, Mr. Hampton. Or a fool.
I'm just a man trying to help his friends, Dr. Reed. William Bishop was a conflicted soul, searching for light.
What is the general situation in the East End docks?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of tensions between the gangs and the dockers' trade union. The wet boot boys are very nervous since they lost their leader.
Who leads the gang now?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show, with the assistance of her minion, Booth Digby.
Has the gang been threatening you?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for so long, you know, the sad saint of the East End. No one dares to bug a saint, not even criminals.
Do you know Tom Watts, the bartender from the Turtle? I met him before I found you in the canning factory.
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand, good old Tom. Without men like him, corruption and despair would have wiped out the East End long ago.
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then? Any particularly evil figures?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best. And it's not my habit to speak ill of people I know, Doctor.
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us all to rot in this contagious nightmare. No drugs, no advice, nothing. It's a damn shame.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hampton? I can't help but notice the cross around your neck.
I manage a night asylum for the poor and homeless of the docks. And I try to guide the lost and hesitant on the right path to our Lord.
Why didn't you use your cross against William Bishop? To repel him somehow?
That's a very strange question, Doctor. A cross is no magical token, if that's what you were trying to say. Not mine, anyway.
Are you a priest, Mr. Hampton? A deacon, maybe?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith, willing to preach the good word.
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really, but I recognize Miss Harriet Jones. I knew her when she lived by the docks. That poor woman had such a miserable life.
You never came to see her here at Pembroke. Receiving visits when sick can be an important part of the healing process, you know. We're not just bodies.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor. To be truly honest, I thought she was dead. She left the docks many months ago.
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton? Medically speaking, I mean.
I feel exhausted. Beyond exhaustion, actually. William drank so much of my blood in his madness. I feel empty.
You're in good hands here. Dr. Swansea is well versed in blood transfusion, and I'm sure he'll take the best care of you.
Thank you, sir. I believe all I need is rest. And then I can go back to the people who need me.
Okay.
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later.
Bon, bah là, on a fait quand même bien de la parlette à tout le monde. On est rentré par là tout à l'heure.
Please, Jonathan, come in. Fascinating, is it not? In the last decade, so many mysteries have been brought to light with our microscopes. The human body, biology's penultimate frontier. The more we explore its boundaries, the less we're able to trace a clear line between life and death. You, my friend, have a foot in both countries. The view must be vertiginous.
It's at least as vertiginous as chatting about vampires with you, I would say.
This must be all so new to you. This area of town, the hospital, a brand new life. How stimulating it must be.
I wish I could share your enthusiasm, Dr. Swansea, but my condition defies scientific categorization. Undead? Unalive? Immortality defies logic.
I cannot express my thrill at this serendipitous turn of events. The world's most eminent specialist in blood transfusions, a vampire. One might say a gift from heaven.
There is an absurd poetry to my situation. Physician, heal thyself.
Forgive me. I've been an admirer of your work for a long time, and now you are so much more than a brilliant physician. And please, call me Edgar.
I'm not some doe-eyed student, Edgar. I understand we both have something to gain from this relationship.
Very well. I have a task for you, Jonathan. Something that will require all your newfound skills.
Please, go on.
The Pembroke only survives through the generosity of our benefactors. Unfortunately, our main donor has found herself in a bit of a bind. Now, if you could help her out...
A spokesman or politician is what you need. That's not my calling. And until I come to understand what has happened to me, I require discretion.
Discretion is in order, Jonathan. Lady Ashbury has recently received rather indelicate correspondence that, if revealed, would jeopardize her position.
And you would like me to eradicate this threat?
By the stole, of course not. I would just like you to pay her a visit. Her ladyship is certainly near the tents outside, tending the sick. You can't miss her. Look for someone impossibly delicate.
Accepted. I'll see what kind of trouble Lady Ashbury is in.
Do you need something, Jonathan?
I have just a few questions.
Then ask away. I'm at your service, Doctor.
You mentioned something about a secret society. A brotherhood, if I recall. Could you elaborate?
Certainly. I've been a member of the Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole for several years. We are pledged to monitor and report vampire activity in England as impartial scientific observers.
Yet you don't fear me. And still, you know the monster that lurks beneath the civilized surface.
The Brotherhood has studied your kind for centuries. We believe you are as supernatural as a lion is to a gazelle.
That explains your nightly wanderings about the docks and the questions you ask.
I feel it wasn't mere coincidence that led us to that part of town. There was something as yet unseen that set those chain of events in motion.
Since you seem quite the expert on vampires, what could you tell me about my condition and how it came about?
As men of science, our first step is always to start with what we know. Forget the myths, the hackneyed scrawlings, and the penny dreadfuls. They do not scratch the surface of the truth you now find yourself in.
The sun. The morning following my transformation. Its rays burned me. There was pain, smoke, and my skin blackened.
You will find there is very little that can kill a vampire, my friend. You have been offered relative immortality. The sun will most certainly hurt you, leaving you weakened and damaged. But it will not destroy you.
Excusez-moi pour tous ces bruits de mouchoirs, d'éternuements.
Must
Le bon rhume, hein.
take a life to live?
You are a vampire. You feed, and blood is the sole sustenance that can sustain your immortal frame. And only a living creature contains the nourishment you require.
Okay.
Since I'm the one working for you, what should I know about Pembroke Hospital?
Well, for many years, we have been the only medical facility in this part of town that people can rely on. We support the community here, as well as provide health care.
Where do we stand today?
Well, to be honest, we cope on a day-to-day basis. The first wave of the Spanish flu last summer took us by surprise. We lack many of the basic necessities needed.
What do you expect of me?
What we need is hope. You were a soldier. This is a war. This white coat's still a uniform. We fight to help the poor, the sick of the East End, the forgotten.
The man we pursued and slew in the canning factory, William Bishop, I believe, was he a vampire?
He was a Skald, technically speaking. The debate rages as to their classification. Some think them a subspecies of vampire, others something else.
How do Skalds come into existence?
The name means slave. The etymology may indicate that they are a lesser species of vampire. From what I know, vampires tend to despise them.
Just for clarity, what differences are there between myself and a Skald?
A Skald is easier to eliminate, Jonathan, even if they remain formidable foes for the unprepared. Vampires... Now, vampires exist beyond the mortal realm.
Très bien.
We'll see each other again soon, Edgar. Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon at the Pembroke Hospital. And who are you?
Your name has no meaning to me, mortal. You're nothing but dust blown by the winds of eternity.
I beg your pardon?
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency? Well, tonight maybe I'm inclined to mercy. You'll never forget the night you met Thelma Howcroft.
You keep calling me mortal. Why is that? And if I'm mortal, what are you?
Well, Dr. Reed, if you must know, I'm a vampire.
Have you heard of any blackmailing going on within these walls?
I have no time for mortal games. My secrets are beyond their comprehension, Dr. Reed.
Okay.
And why do you believe you're a vampire?
I don't need to believe anything. It is what I am. It is what I feel within this hollow shell of flesh.
please, describe to me how you feel. What is it like to be a vampire?
I can hear my body crumble from the inside as my flesh cracks and fades. I sense the last pulse of postulant blood within my drying veins. I need new blood.
I see. Have you ever heard of Cotard's syndrome, Miss Howcroft?
Never.
It's a mental illness discovered by a French neurologist named Jules Cotard. The affected patients are delusional. They believe that they are putrefying, that they are dead, a ghost or a ghoul, or in your case, a vampire.
Delusional, you say? Oh, sad and petty mortal. You can't even begin to understand the concept of immortality. And you think it is I who am delusional.
I'm assuming you must be a patient here. Am I right, Miss Howcroft?
It's only a cover. To hide from my enemies. I can leave whenever I want. As a woman, a spirit, fog, or bat.
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
I cannot say for sure. But I sense their eyes on me from nearby. I feel them watching me every time I visit the garden near the morgue.
The staff here are not your enemy. They're here to help you, to care for you.
I'm not speaking of the doctors in white. I'm speaking of the men and women who hunt me. For I am a vampire.
I see. Don't worry. These people will not find you here. I'll personally make sure they leave you alone.
Thank you, mortal. But do not interfere with them, for you are no match for those that hunt me.
Bien sûr.
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
It was such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have strange effects on one's minds, you see?
Yes.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
And I thought last summer's epidemic.
The flu took my dear wife, Emily. I take comfort knowing we'll soon be together again.
Mr. Rainfield, that's no way to talk. You're in good hands here, and we'll be up again soon enough. Now do me a kindness and get some sleep. I'll be back round later.
Your words are kind, the blessings of an angel. You're the sweet, sweet Lady of Mercy.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. It's a pleasure to see you again. You seem surprised. Dr. Swansea has brought me up to speed concerning your recent appointment to Pembroke Hospital.
You're a the lady who saved me that night, before vanishing into thin air. I remember you from the pub with Dr. Swansea.
Indeed. Allow me to introduce myself formally this time. My name is Lady Ashbury. I remember you well, in spite of the brevity of our encounter.
Apologies. You've taken me by surprise. I'm very happy to see you.
The pleasure is mine, Doctor.
I hope you're more disposed to answer my questions now.
You must have countless questions, but our rather urgent matter first. Swansea has explained. My cover, if you prefer, has been compromised.
Dr. Swansea has commissioned me to be your agent in this matter. You could start by explaining what's amiss.
These past insufferable weeks, I've been the victim of extortion. I've made a first payment, but the blackmailer grows greedy. I must refuse his most recent demands.
Who would be so foolish as to threaten you? A kindred spirit.
Even if it were the case, and I highly doubt it, a vampire would have asked for something more valuable than money. My suspicions lean toward a patient or their family.
If we're dealing with an ordinary criminal, surely you've the means to deal with it yourself, if I may.
As immortal tradition doth dictate, all fangs and hypnotic eyes ablaze, the blood would run like a river. That's what I hope to avoid. Violence has a tendency to spiral out of control.
What are your expectations? Please be precise.
As the newly appointed surgeon of this hospital, you are in an excellent position to ask innocent questions and deftly learn the identity of my blackmailer.
Please continue. Every detail is essential. I'm your man.
My embarrassment in this matter is eclipsed only by my shame at having put the hospital at risk. The threat from our anonymous scoundrel is clear. A list of dates. My visits coinciding with the dates of suspicious patient deaths due to massive blood loss.
Is it true?
Now aren't you the blunt one?
Excuse my impertinence, Your Ladyship. This is not an interrogation. I assure you that this line of questioning is in your best interest.
In all honesty, I'm not simply a patron to the hospital. My visits serve a dual purpose. Dr. Swansea has been treating my condition with a revolutionary technique of blood transfusion. It seems you are a specialist in the domain.
I'll take care of it. Do you know where I should start?
If that was the case, I'd settle the matter myself. You could talk to our local gossip, Harriet Jones. Not a pin drops here without her hearing about it.
I'll meet that woman now.
My life, as others know, is in your hands, Dr. Reed. I'm sure of your discretion, but I do fear your powers of persuasion will be put to the test. When this is resolved, I'll be your obligé. I'll answer all questions in regards of your condition.
Ok.
Damn.
What is this? Who are you? Get out of my room.
There's no need for alarm, madam. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon.
Preposterous. Dr. Reed, you say? I don't want some bumbling intern. Where's Dr. Swansea?
Please, calm down, madam. I assure you that I am highly qualified. I'm just back from war duty.
How brave. Threatening an old defenseless woman. You know how long I've been a patient here? You've picked the wrong fight. I'm Harriet Jones.
Harriet Jones? Indeed. I've been meaning to have a chat with you. You know what goes on here better than any other patient, I gather.
Oh, better than any patient, nurse, or doctor. I've seen so many vile undertakings.
I heard there have been some despicable goings-on. Was there a case of blackmail?
Blackmail? Wait. You're investigating something. This isn't a social call. One of those incompetent cunts slit a poor sod's vein.
I assure you, madam, this is not an investigation into a possible medical error.
Debauchery, then? Nurses Crane, Hawkins, Brannigans, whores, all of them. They can't keep their legs shut. I've seen them scratching slutty sores.
Really? Well, if you have irrefutable proof, I'll not have the staff behaving in such a manner here.
This is your business, Doctor, not mine. But I swear one of the nurses is cavorting with some man on hospital hours.
Thank you for your time, Miss Jones. You've given me something to go on. See you on the next round. Miss Jones, greetings. How do we feel?
Again? Waking a poor old woman in her sleep? There isn't a poor life needs saving somewhere?
Now, I need to ask you a few simple questions.
Well, if you really must.
If you could just tell me why you were admitted.
It's terrible, Doctor. What with a pain in my chest, coughing up blood, and I get awfully tired. Wouldn't be so bad if I hadn't lost my house and all.
I see.
No one comes to visit, you know. Not even my own flesh and blood.
Have you noticed any suspicious comings or goings?
It would be a great deal easier to make a list of things unsuspicious in this house of charlatans.
Come now, Miss Jones. Surely it's not that bad.
Have you no eyes? This hospital accepts all manner of souls, regardless of origin. The proper sick cannot heal. We're kept sickened by the refugees.
Everyone here is very capable. I have not seen any instances of unprofessionalism.
Thieves and murderers, the lot. People have gone missing here, you know. Poof, without a trace.
I'll come and visit you shortly. Good night, Miss Jones.
Charmante personne.
The patients and staff might know something. I'll start my investigation with them.
Just a dozen years or so.
Good evening, Dr. Tippett.
Dr. Reed, any good news to share?
Have you heard of any underhand dealings going on in this hospital?
I have no time for such triviality, my dear colleague. We're here to save lives.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippett. Good evening, nurse. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, the new surgeon here at the Pembroke.
Dr. Swansea has already told us about you, sir. I'm Nurse Gwyneth Brannigan. Welcome to the Pembroke Hospital.
Did he really? It's a good thing I wasn't hoping to keep a low profile.
All members of staff have already read about your new blood transfusion technique. Dr. Swansea made sure of that.
I see. Well, I'm a little surprised, but I suppose I'll just have to deal with this unexpected notoriety.
You must know, blood transfusions are Dr. Swansea's primary subject of research. He is convinced it is the future.
Have you seen a strange man visiting any of the nurses here?
I've never heard of such a thing, Doctor.
I'm not familiar with all the staff yet. Perhaps you could help me.
Brilliant professionals, most of them. Dr. Swansea has a gift for recruiting talent.
Most of them. Is there a problem I should know about, nurse?
It would be inappropriate for me to speak ill of a colleague.
Nurse Brannigan, if you do know something, please tell me. Anything you say will be held in confidence.
No. I may disagree with some conduct, but in the end, everybody is doing their best.
Is there anyone that stands out?
Well, I have never met someone as dedicated as Dr. Tippett's. He should be a standard for us all here. If only he were younger.
Why should his age be a problem?
I guess it's fair to say he's always pushing himself.
Hello, hello
to the
Kenny.
limits. He just
Comment ça
doesn't
va?
know when to stop and get some rest.
Ok.
How are things here?
Not good, to say the least. We're struggling against an invisible enemy, more lethal than any bullet from a gun. It's hard, Doctor.
An invisible enemy? Quite a poetic term for a disease, especially from a nurse.
Sorry, Doctor. These last few weeks have been exhausting. We could all do with a good night's sleep.
Ça, merci bien, nickel.
Can survive the epidemic?
We are all volunteers here, and we're trying to hold fast.
Nous sommes sur un nouveau jeu un petit peu narratif.
Some nurses have already resigned.
Je le comparerai pas à Détroit, mais en tout cas, il y a des choix et des impacts sur les choix. Je ne sais pas si tu connais ce jeu. On va pas les parler plus à celle-là, elle a trop de trucs à dire.
Another night. Surely I can endure another night. A pig's dog smell better.
On va aller en dessous. Non, c'est pas là. C'est là. Espionner.
Please, sir. I need help bad.
What's going on?
I'm Blight, sir. Newton Blight. I've lost my mate. Can't find him anywhere.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed from the Pembroke Hospital. Please, calm down and give me more details.
Oswald and myself were both infantry, sir. We were en route for the hospital, but we had a disagreement. And Oswald ran off towards the canal.
How long have you been searching for him?
I can't go there. Too many rats by the water. Fucking rats. Can't stand them since the war, sir. Can't stand them at all.
Don't be ashamed, Mr. Blight. Many soldiers who survive the trenches suffer from musophobia. I'll see what I can do for your friend. I have all the information I need.
C'est pas lui qu'on voulait voir d'abord. On s'en occupera plus tard de celui-là.
I'll let you know as soon as I can.
Thank you, Dr. Reed.
It's locked, all right. «
49 mètres, mais il doit y avoir un sous-sol dans l'hôpital. » Inconnu. Elle, c'est une vampire, donc on peut pas non plus tuer une vampire. Bon, il y a un sous-sol du coup. Pas Hawkins, on lui a parlé il y a pas longtemps. Pas elle.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
What can you tell me about the strange man visiting one of the nurses during her shift?
Let me guess. You spoke with that old shrew, Harriet Jones. Do not pay attention to her, Doctor. She's full of fanciful tales.
No matter how you feel about her, Miss Jones deserves our help.
Who says I don't care for her? Hate is what keeps that old crone alive.
She could have been telling the truth about the mysterious man.
That old witch will end up in hell soon enough. Who cares if a nurse finds some happiness where she can?
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Mais attendez, c'est à elle que je dois parler.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Ah oui, d'accord.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Ok. Il faut que je puisse la charmer avec mes pouvoirs de vampire, mais je ne suis pas assez amélioré là-dessus. Du coup, bah, on va devoir améliorer ça, je pense. Ah non, trouver l'infirmière Dorothy Crane. Un corbeau à l'hôpital. Ah! Mais elle est au sous-sol. Comment elle peut être en dessous? Ah, c'est la même que tout à l'heure. Oui, elles sont toujours un petit peu aux mêmes endroits.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
Ah mais voilà, c'est elle en fait, je suis con.
You're sure you don't come back with me?
Nah, I have to see someone at the hospital.
Be careful. You look so bad they may keep you as a patient.
Fuck 'em. I don't like hospitals or doctors.
Well then, when you go back to Whitechapel, you may find this useful.
What is it?
A pass for a free medical exam by the best nurse available. Just read it.
I don't read well, but thank you, I guess.
Mince alors, l'infirmière soi-disant la plus dévouée. On va enquêter, c'est louche, c'est louche. Donc le médicament qu'elle nous a fait faire, c'était pour le donner à un membre de gang. Super, on s'est cassé le cul pour rien. En plus, on a pris des risques à aller chercher des ingrédients à la morgue alors qu'elle était...
He's locked the door behind him. I need to find another way to follow him.
La morgue était infestée de scales. Donc ça va être le traquenard.
This man has been savagely attacked and dragged to the floor.
Niveau 8. Sorry pour le temps, je me prépare une glace. Mets-toi bien, mets-toi bien. Allez, allez. Voilà. Ouh là là. Oh putain, ça pue cet endroit du coup. Oh, quel enfer. Oh merde. No, no, no. Oh. Putain, je viens de comprendre que le mot retard, comme il doit être interprété en anglais comme retard, a été pris comme étant une insulte et c'est pour ça qu'il fait que je l'autorise. Ah là là. Ah mais pourquoi je pouvais pas aller dans son dos? Je pouvais pas l'assommer en arrivant dans son dos en mode discret? On se soigne comme on peut, hein. Où est-ce qu'il est celui qui dit ça? C'est celui qu'on recherche peut-être? C'est celui qu'on suit, qu'on pense qu'il est hostile alors qu'il s'est retrouvé dans la panade. Oh ça pue. Ça pue cette histoire. J'ai regardé un peu les armes avant parce que ça sent le traquenard à plein nez. On peut se soigner. Alors comment on utilise ça? Mais non, pourquoi j'ai équipé les deux mêmes? Ah, c'est parce que ça prend à deux mains. C'est pour ça. On va tenter. Bien sûr, un niveau 9. Oh putain! Oh la vache, il est super résistant. Mais il est très lent. Il fait très mal. Il fait très mal. Oh putain. Putain. Merde. Merde. Ah putain. Merde. Oh, il est tendu là. C'est bon, on l'a eu. Il était On était niveau 5 et était niveau 8. C'était un petit peu long, mais on l'a eu. Donc c'est un loup-garou. Ou un vampire plus. Est-ce que les vampires et les loups-garous sont des ennemis? J'avoue que j'y connais rien. En vampire, un loup-garou, je connais pas grand-chose.
Not a lot to check.
Si vous êtes malade, que vous n'avez pas d'argent, qui que vous soyez, d'où vous venez, Dorothea est là pour vous aider. Dorothy, bien sûr. Sans entourloupe, sans frais, sans question. Trouvez la maison de Darius Petrescu et présentez ce bon.
Some voucher for a free check-up in Whitechapel. What is Nurse Crane up to? I really must find her.
Ouais. Se reposer pour évoluer. Ah oui, c'est vrai qu'on peut faire ça. Là, on va bouffer de la souris en pagaille parce qu'en vrai, on en a besoin. Bon, comment on peut sauver le mec qui parlait là? Là, on entend. On entend des bruits et tout, mais je sais pas si c'est dans les égouts ou si c'est que dehors et juste derrière il y a un truc. Je pense pas, hein, ça a l'air d'être en dessous en vrai. Il y a un truc que j'ai pas vu. En plus j'avais loupé des trucs. Là je viens de faire un tour pour rien. Bah ouais, mais où est-ce qu'il est? Dans mon casque ça me dit que ça vient de la droite. Je pense pas qu'on puisse aller derrière la grille. Ah, peut-être par là. Ah oui, je pense que c'est là. Citoyen en danger. Prudence, un citoyen en danger pourrait ne pas survivre à la nuit prochaine. Allez lui porter secours. Ok, d'accord. Oh putain, mais ils vont me tuer. Oh, j'ai été trop nul. Je viens de battre un loup-garou et j'ai pas été capable de tuer deux pauvres mecs. J'ai été trop nul. En fait, j'ai changé d'arme et j'ai essayé l'arme plus... Une arme plus fight. Plus fight en mode de main. C'était mauvais call. J'ai mal géré. Non mais après il faut que je prenne des niveaux là, parce que à mon avis j'ai pas mal d'XP en réserve et peut-être que je suis pas au bon niveau pour continuer. J'aurais dû prendre le temps de faire une petite pause dans notre planque. Du coup on reprend où? Ah putain ils remettent là. Sauver l'homme paniqué en éliminant les slacks. Les scales. Les slacks. Pas du tout. Slack c'est autre chose. Ah putain ils ont réapparu. Ah, je vais pas retuer tout le monde, hein, ça va être trop long. Ça va peut-être être encore plus dur. Ah, et on peut revenir par là en plus, c'est tout bénef! C'est tout bénef, la sortie est juste là. Bah putain. Bah putain. C'était chaud. Salut mec. T'es libre.
Are you injured, sir?
Help me get out of here. I need to get out.
I'm Dr. Reed, and I'd be glad to help you, but you must calm down first. Please,
Ah, c'est
take
quoi
a
cette
deep
histoire de
breath
Wi-Fi?
and tell me your name.
Okay, I'm Oswald Thatcher. Please, I need to get out.
Mr. Thatcher, your friend Newton sent me to help you. Do you remember him?
Yes, I do.
Good. Now leave this place and enjoy the cool night air. It's quite invigorating. I'm sure you'll feel better if you do.
Citoyen sauvé. Vous avez sauvé un citoyen et il sera de retour dans son quartier à partir de la nuit prochaine. Parfait. Et bah voilà. On est vraiment un gentil vampire. On a tué un loup-garou, on a éliminé plein de scals et on a sauvé une personne en proie aux scals dans une cage. Let's go. Oula. Temps pourri. Ah mais merde. Je disais, il a l'air chelou comme mec. J'ai crevé là? Non, je refuse. Bon. Du coup, qu'est-ce qu'elle mijote là, cette infirmière? On va d'abord aller faire une petite pause dans nos quartiers parce qu'on n'est pas bien. Et on a des niveaux à prendre. Comment ça se fait que cette porte est ouverte? Ah. Traitement pour la fatigue, traitement pour l'anémie, traitement pour le sepsis, pneumonie, bronchite, le rhume. On fera tout ça après. Alors... Augmente votre endurance, ça peut être pas mal. Hein. Voilà, l'endurance, on est bien. C'est quoi la capacité sanguine par rapport à la santé? Tactique charge. C'est bien ça. On est niveau 9. Voilà. On est niveau 9 maintenant, c'est quand même mieux. Événement majeur dans le quartier. Chaque nuit, les conséquences de vos actes peuvent améliorer ou dégrader la situation sanitaire du quartier. Celle-ci peut aussi se détériorer si des maladies se propagent parmi ses citoyens. Ah oui, c'est vrai que tu es un citoyen, ça rapporte masse d'XP, effectivement. Mal de tête pour lui, ok. Lui, il lui faut quoi? Un truc contre la fatigue. Donc il faut un truc contre la fatigue et un truc contre le mal de tête. On va fabriquer ça. Bah je sais pas. Il y a pas quelqu'un qui avait une bronchite ou un truc comme ça? Bon après autant faire tout ce que je peux, on sait jamais, ça pourra servir dans tous les cas je pense. Les armes, faut peut-être trouver mieux avant de les améliorer.
The flower's dying. It needs water.
Oui, ça oui, tout le temps, toujours. On va peut-être aller sauver les quelques patients qu'on peut sauver avec nos petits remèdes.
It's locked.
It's locked. On ramasse des ingrédients, ça pourra servir. Je crois pas que je suis monté au dernier étage. Bon, lui, non, on l'a déjà parlé, il a plus rien à me donner. Peut-être qu'on peut pas en fait. Oui, voilà. Là, y a rien. Elle, c'est la folle, mais je crois pas que je peux la soigner.
Good evening, Miss Howcroft. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
Ok,
I'll leave
nickel.
you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
Lui, qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire pour lui?
Good evening, Mr. Fiddick.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Any news about my operation?
Non.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you
Oh, le
later.
vent. Non, non, j'ai aucune info pour son opération. Lui, je peux pas le soigner. Lui, je peux le soigner.
Good evening, Doctor. How is my son doing?
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
C'est pas à toi que je veux parler, c'est à ton fils, parce que c'est lui qui est malade, c'est pas toi.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
How painful is your throat?
Il va nous dire trop pour parler.
Not talk at all, Doctor.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write about it now.
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
I'm alright. Don't waste your time with me.
Lui, il nous déteste. Et je le déteste parce qu'on peut pas atteindre le coffre juste ici. On va lui parler pour le dégager.
I'm quite busy right now, Dr. Reed.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
Yes. Lui, du coup, on peut pas le soigner non plus, je crois.
Good evening, Mr. Elwood.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Au moins, on lui a rendu visite. Lui, peut-être.
Hello again, Dr. Reed. I feel better already. Can I go soon?
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later.
Bon, et bah, je sais pas qui je peux soigner avec les médicaments que j'ai créés. Que j'ai confectionnés avec soin.
If only there were more of us, with less resignation.
I wish I could say the same for the others.
You look exhausted. You're pushing yourself too hard. You don't have to bear the bad
Bah, il y avait celui que j'ai sauvé la veille. Je sais pas si on va le retrouver le long du canal, vu que son ami voulait qu'on le sauve d'ici.
It's locked, all right.
Bah super. Et si c'était lui? On a la capacité de le soigner du coup?
I cannot enter.
Je pense qu'il y a une petite clé à choper à un moment donné. Ah!
Hello again, Mr. Thatcher. Do you feel any better now?
Yes, this neighborhood may stink of dog shit and reek of piss, but to me it smells like the purest mountain air.
Why were you locked in that sewer? What happened?
I went by the canal after an argument with a friend. Got chased by these fucking wankers and had to barricade myself in, despite my claustrophobia.
Why did you run? What was the reason for your argument?
Newton wanted me to go to a hospital, but I can't stand being closed in. It makes me feel like I'm suffocating.
Tell me about your claustrophobia. Has anyone given you an official diagnosis?
That's what the bloody doctor said, but I don't want to go to a hospital to get checked again. I'll deal with it my own way.
Okay.
Oswald, why did you not go to the Pembroke Hospital to seek medical help?
I don't trust doctors. All they care about was their careers and processes. I won't be locked in any room again by anyone.
Your fear of being trapped is not going to go away by itself. You need professional help.
I've seen enough butchers in white coats to last a lifetime. Hospitals reek of chemicals and death. What I need is fresh air.
Mr. Thatcher, do you have a job?
No. Since I came back from the war, I spent most of my time and energy just trying to forget.
I understand what you mean. I was a soldier too.
No. Nobody can truly understand what I've gone through.
Do you want to talk about why you have this fear of being enclosed, Mr. Thatcher?
No, I really don't.
An irrational fear like yours is usually rooted in a specific event. Perhaps it would help to talk about it.
Well, Doctor, take a guess then, if you're so interested in my case.
Culpabilité du soldat.
As a soldier, you're expected to kill the enemy to survive. Guilt is a powerful emotion and could lead to feelings of suffocation and oppression.
My God, you're so wrong. Believe me,
Merde.
I would kill if it happened again. Violence is part of who I am.
Dommage, indice perdu.
Do you want to talk about why you have this fear of being enclosed, Mr. Thatcher?
No, I really don't.
An irrational fear like yours is usually
On va essayer à nouveau, je sais pas si ça marchera.
Perhaps it would help to talk about it.
Well, Doctor, take a guess then, if you're so interested in my case.
As a soldier, you're
Oh
expected
non,
to
du coup
kill
ça
the
m'est...
enemy to survive. Guilt is a powerful emotion and could lead to
J'ai
feelings of
plus la
suffocation.
possibilité de choisir, je me suis
My
grillé.
God, you're so wrong. Believe me, I would kill if it happened again. Violence is part of who I am.
Goodbye, Mr. Thatcher. Try to take care of yourself.
Zut. Et son pote qui était sorti, est-ce qu'il est re-rentré ou pas?
It's locked, all right.
Celui son pote.
Hello again, Mr. Blight. I'm happy to see Mr. Thatcher is safe for now.
I'm eternally grateful, Doctor. We were total strangers and you helped us anyway. Can't thank you enough, sir.
caused your phobia of rats, Newton?
It happened last year following an artillery attack. I was trapped for 2 days in a hole under 2 dead soldiers. And there were rats.
Go on.
It started eating me as soon as I dozed. Gnawing at my ears, my fingers, lips. I couldn't move. Couldn't call for help.
I see.
No, you don't. You have no idea what it is to wake up buried under bodies. Fucking vermin eating your flesh. Oswald.
Ah putain, on l'a eu là l'indice. Et merde.
You are always welcome at the Pembroke Hospital. As a former officer, I'll be honored to welcome a fellow veteran.
I'm not giving up on bringing Oswald back to the hospital. I just need to convince him that he needs some help.
Perhaps he needs to reach that decision by himself.
Could you speak to him? He doesn't usually listen to doctors, but perhaps because you've been through it, you can talk him round.
Why do you stay here now that Mr. Thatcher's back?
It's complicated. Since the war, Oswald's been really nervous with the idea of entering any hospital. And me, I've got my own issues.
Can you speak about them?
Rats, sir. Even seeing one, they turn me. Just want to run. It's that fear that stopped me from going after Oswald when he left.
What can you tell me about the war, Mr. Blight? If you want to speak about it, of course.
War was... Well, you know, sir. The stench of death everywhere. Your mates lying bleeding in the mud. Just praying to make it through and get home. Bloody nightmare.
Did you know Oswald Thatcher before the war?
No. We met in the battlefield. I think we're in the same boat to France. We've stuck together ever since.
I fought in France, too. I served as a field surgeon, but it was not uncommon to repel an assault, especially at night.
Yeah. The first time I was wounded, I had to protect the infirmary from hostiles. Twice.
Goodbye, Mr.
Bon, et bah je pense qu'on s'est grillé avec ce mec-là. Si on avait su.
Good evening.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Ouais.
Goodbye, Mr. Thatcher.
Tant pis.
Try to take care of yourself.
Oui, il est résistant. Dératisation. Bah ouais, on en mange pas mal, effectivement. Et c'est que ça soigne, alors c'est pas mal. C'est pratique.
It's locked.
Comme d'habitude, hein. Toujours tout fermé. Je vais quand même améliorer ça du coup. Voilà.
I cannot enter.
Bah, notre planque. Bon, de toute façon, on a un petit peu avancé, on a beaucoup parlé aujourd'hui, il y a eu beaucoup de dialogues avec les différents occupants de l'hôpital. Du coup, peu d'action, mais quand même, on a pas mal appris sur le lore et les différents enjeux dans le jeu. On va se faire une petite pause et on va complètement changer de jeu, complètement changer d'ambiance. C'était indiqué dans le titre du live, donc il n'y a pas de surprise. Après la pause, on va découvrir, après tout le monde, bien sûr, comme d'habitude, Hades, que je n'ai jamais testé et j'en ai vu très peu, donc je ne sais pas du tout à quoi m'attendre. Je suis habituellement peu habitué à ce genre de jeu, donc on va voir un petit peu si ça nous plaît. La fin de la VODC maintenant, bien sûr, des bisous YouTube.